NVIDIA's GPU lineup looks simple at first, until you try to pick one. What's actually the difference between all these models, and how do you avoid overpaying for power you'll never use? Let's start with RTX. This is NVIDIA's current lineup, and it covers everything from entry-level cards all the way up to absolute high-end. Before anything else, what really decides how powerful a GPU is its tier. This is the part most people skip, and then get confused later. The last two digits in something like 4060 or 5090 tell you the performance level within that generation. Cards ending in 50 are the baseline. Basic gaming, older titles, or very light workloads. Something like a 3050 will run games, but you'll often be lowering settings. 60 is where things become comfortable. Cards like the 3060 or 4060 are built for 1080p gaming. You can run most modern games on high settings, play esports titles like CS2 or Valorant smoothly, and not think too much about performance. 70 is the sweet spot. A 4070 or 5070 gives you enough power for 1440p gaming with high settings, smoother frame rates, and more headroom for future games. This is where most people should be. 80 and 90 are high-end. These are built for 4K, heavy rendering, or just maxing everything out. A 5090, for example, isn't just a bit faster, it's in a completely different class. So when comparing GPUs, this number often matters more than anything else. It defines the level. RTX generations. Now that tiers make sense, the first part of the number becomes much easier. Those first digits, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, represent generations. Each one brings new features, better efficiency, and usually more performance. Before RTX, there was the GTX 10 series. No ray tracing, no AI features, just raw performance. Cards like the GTX 1060 and 1080 became incredibly popular because they hit a perfect balance of price and power. Then came RTX 20 series. This is where ray tracing first appeared. Real-time reflections, better lighting, but early on, it was expensive in performance and not widely supported. RTX 30 series changed things. Big jump in raw power. This is where upgrading started to feel obvious. Higher frame rates, better performance across the board. RTX 40 series focused more on efficiency and smarter performance. DLSS 3 and frame generation appeared. Instead of just rendering frames faster, the GPU started creating additional frames using AI. In games like Cyberpunk, this can make a huge difference. RTX 50 series is the newest direction. More focus on AI acceleration, efficiency, and long-term scaling. Less about brute force, more about how that power is used. You'll also see specs like VRAM, memory bus, and clock speeds. VRAM is basically your GPU's working memory. The more you have, the more data it can hold at once. In real terms, this means better textures and smoother performance at higher resolutions. For example, in games like Hogwarts Legacy or The Last of Us, low VRAM can cause stuttering or textures loading late. Memory bus affects how fast that data moves. A wider bus can feed the GPU faster, which matters in demanding scenarios like 4K gaming. Clock speed is raw frequency, how fast the GPU operates. Higher usually means more performance, but it's not the only factor. You don't need to memorize all this. Just know, these specs explain why two cards in the same tier can still feel different. TI and Super. Then you'll see extra labels like TI and Super. These aren't new tiers, they sit between existing ones. A 4070 Ti is stronger than a 4070, usually with more cores and higher performance, but still below a 4080. Super versions are typically refreshes, slightly improved versions of existing cards, sometimes with more cores, sometimes better memory. They exist because the gap between tiers can be large. In practice, this is where value gets tricky. A Ti model might be a great upgrade, or barely noticeable. You always have to compare. Titan. There was also Titan. These were essentially no-limits GPUs. Extremely powerful, extremely expensive, sitting somewhere between gaming and professional use. People use them for heavy rendering, deep learning experiments, or just because they wanted the best possible hardware. They've mostly disappeared now. High-end RTX cards like the 4090 basically replaced them. Comparing across generations. This is where most people get it wrong. You're probably already thinking, what's better, a 4070 or a 5060? A 3060 or a 5050? Here's the key idea. Tier defines the level, generation refines it. A higher-tier older card can absolutely outperform a lower-tier newer one. For example, a 3060 versus a 5050. The 3060 sits higher in its generation. In many real-world cases, especially in raw performance, it can still compete with or even beat a 5050. So what should you choose? If you care about raw power, go higher tier. If you care about newer features, efficiency, or longer support, newer generation can make sense. But don't assume newer automatically means better. One thing people forget: physical size. High-end GPUs can be huge. Triple fan designs, long PCBs, they don't fit in every case. Before buying, always check clearance. It's a boring detail until your GPU literally doesn't fit. And one more thing. Higher-end GPUs often need a strong CPU to really perform at their best. Otherwise, you might not get the full value out of your upgrade. If you're not sure how that works, I've got CPU videos linked in the description. Mobile GPUs, now laptops. This is where things get misleading. An RTX 4070 in a laptop is not the same as a desktop 4070. Not even close. Laptop GPUs use the same naming, but run at much lower power. For example, a desktop GPU might run at 200 to 300 watts, while a laptop version could be limited to 80 to 120 watts. That's a huge difference. You'll sometimes see labels like Max Q or different power limits depending on the laptop model. Two laptops with the same RTX 4070 can perform very differently. Workstation GPUs, now stepping into professional territory. RTX Pro, previously known as Quadro, is built for stability and precision. These are used in software like AutoCAD, SolidWorks, Blender, where accuracy matters more than raw speed. For example, when designing a building or a mechanical part, even small visual errors can be a problem. These GPUs are optimized to avoid that. They also support features like ECC memory, which helps prevent data errors during long workloads. They're not meant for gaming. And yes, they're very expensive. Data center GPUs. Then there's an entirely different category. Tesla and newer AI-focused GPUs are used in servers, training AI models, running cloud services, handling massive computations. For example, when you use AI tools, video upscaling, or large-scale services, somewhere in the background, GPUs like these are doing the work. We're talking machines with multiple GPUs running 24/7, processing huge amounts of data. This isn't consumer hardware. It's infrastructure. So if you zoom out, it's not that complicated. RTX is the current lineup. The first number tells you the generation. The second number tells you the performance tier. 50, basic use and lighter gaming. 60, solid 1080p performance. 70, the sweet spot for most people. 80, high-end. 90, extreme performance. Ti and Super fill the gaps between tiers. Laptop GPUs share names, not performance. And the biggest mistake? Assuming bigger numbers automatically mean better choice. Drop some likes and comments if this video was helpful. Subscribe for more simple guides like this one.